welcome back to the Babbling Bards podcast.
A podcast made by Xenites.
For Xenites. God, I wish I could speak whale.
You mean you can't?
No. So, we're your happy hosts. I'm Trista.
I'm Liliana.
And today we have, after coming off of an episode that neither of us really cared for him the bell tolls, we've come across another episode that we're not so crazy about, but there's a little bit of meat to it, so we're going to pick it apart and see how you guys feel on it. How many chakrams do you give the execution? Aside from the fact you don't like Meleager.
I'll probably give it like a 3. 2.5, 3.
That's how it is in life, though, isn't it?
Yes.
Because you have these random people and you don't care for them and, you don't understand why you don't really like them. It's just, a thing.
Yeah.
I have a coworker like that. You know, it's like, I'll tolerate them because, you gotta work with them.
You have to.
And you just make the best out of a bad situation. You're just like, haven't done anything to me. Mm-hmm. They're not a bad person. It's just, you have to make the choice to just get along with them the best you can and go on with life,
Yep.
So, that's pretty much how I feel about Meleager. Yeah. It's he didn't do anything for me not to like him.
No, it's just, I don't know.
Tim Thomerson, though, now I like. I like the actor that plays Meleager.
Mm-hmm.
But,
and he played them very well.
He did. I think maybe it's just because of the whole, for me, I can't speak for you because you have your own brain, but for me, I think it's, for me, I think it's the alpha male brain.
Uh-huh.
I think that's why I have such an issue with his character.
Okay.
I don't know. Because he's all I'm all big, bad, and ugly. I'm going to take you on,
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's me. I don't know.
I don't know either.
I'm in the same boat with you. I'd give this episode probably about a 3. It's not a terrible episode.
No, it's not.
It's a filler episode.
Mm-hmm.
But it's better thought out than some filler episodes. I feel like Cradle of Hope, I don't feel was a very good filler episode. For Him the Bell Tolls, I definitely don't feel was a good filler episode. Same with Married with Fish Sticks.
Ugh.
Why? But, I mean, they didn't do terrible.
No, they did not.
So we've got the reintroduction to Meleager the Mighty.
Mm-hmm.
And we met him in the episode The Prodigal. That's the episode when Gabrielle freezes up during the fight at the beginning.
Right.
And she decides she's going to go back to Podadia.
Mm-hmm.
And when she gets there, this warlord's trying to attack the village. And they've hired Meleager to defend the village. Because he's killed hundreds of men single-handedly. However, he has an alcohol problem.
Yeah.
He is a drunk. So, fast forward to the episode The Execution.
Executioner. Is
No.
it executioner or
The
execution?
Execution, honey.
Execution.
Yeah.
Oh, I was looking right there. I saw executioner. I'm all like, wait a minute. That's not right.
No,
Okay.
it's The Execution.
That's right.
So you fast forward to the episode The Execution. Oh, Marley got a new car. My best friend got a new car, everybody. Sorry. She just texted me.
Random babbles from the Babbling Bards.
I miss my best friend.
I know.
She's still in Georgia, and I'm in California. We're 3,200 miles apart. We get to see each other when I fly back for Thanksgiving and Christmas, and that's it. So I have big feels for my bestie. I miss her so hard. So when she texts, I get giddy like a schoolgirl. It's ridiculous. Anyway, okay, so fast forward to the execution, and we've got Meleager who is sobered up now.
Maybe.
No, he's sobered up now. He's not drinking anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, well.
Uh-huh. He did have a little hiccup.
He had a hiccup.
That's why we have the execution.
Which, as somebody that struggles with alcoholism, I can respect that because, I've had hiccups. Mm-hmm. I've had many hiccups. But, now it's you can control it and, but that's where your difference in social drinking and solo drinking come in. You know,
Uh-huh.
because if I'm by myself drinking, there's a clear issue because I have no stopping sense. Versus like when like Liliana and I are out with friends or something like that, I can cut myself off at 1 or 2 and I'm fine. You know, but when you're by yourself and it's a struggle and like there's no Liliana, there's no tiny humans you're responsible for, you know, it's just like, yeah, it's not gonna hurt anything. Why are you cutting me a look? She's cutting me a look. Yes.
Is that what you do when I'm not here?
Like one time, and then after that I was like, you know what? That was rough. Let's not go back there because I don't get hangovers, thankfully, but I do like sleep it off, and I had to get up and go to work like early the next morning. Oh my God, I thought I was gonna die. I was like, you know, not as young as I used to be. Maybe not a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, you take it in strides, don't you? So, anyway, Meleager has a hiccup.
Yes.
At some point in this episode, which we'll get to later. But just so you guys have a background story, we got what was it? I can't remember if it was an email or if it was a direct message.
For what?
Like this is like a few weeks back.
Okay.
That they had asked something about this episode. Oh my God, I don't remember what it was.
I have no clue. You
We
did
both-
not inform me of it.
I'm sorry. Well, we're both like synced up to it now, so
Yeah.
we both should get it now.
I get all.
It had to be
the
it had to be an email, like through the website. You know, it had to be.
No, I don't.
Work with me.
Well, I would if I knew what email you were talking about.
It was something about this episode
Okay, yeah.
because they had asked something about like Gabrielle and the Meleager character.
Mm-hmm.
Because I guess they were looking at... Because they had picked my brain. That's what it was. Because the email was pretty much like, hey, you know, I know you do like the subtext side. I just got in a giant argument with a friend of mine about, you know, subtext between Gabrielle and Meleager. It's like, okay, ew. So,
oh, wow.
they're like, oh, they pointed out this and pointed out that. And I'm going, okay, so I'm going to reference you to the episode The Execution, where Meleager tells Gabrielle that she's like a daughter to him.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, do you want those like warm fuzzies for your child?
No.
You know?
No.
And they were like, oh, awesome, good point. I didn't know that was a thing. I was like, okay. But then that person went on to say, because I responded and I was like, LOL, yeah, thanks, glad I could help, you know? And they're all, they're just like, oh, by the way, I'm a new Xena viewer. I was like, okay, cool, because I'm all like, awesome, Xena fandom, still kicking up fans.
Right.
Right. And it's rare, like, for me to meet new fans. Mm-hmm. Because I'm still semi-new. I mean, I'm only 3 years old, you know? And it's, like, Liliana is far more versed in Xena than I am. Because she's watched it longer. Like, everything I know is because of the photo man. Everything. So, like, sometimes she'll look at me and she'll be like, that's not what happened. And I'm like, no, yes, it did. That is not what happened. Okay. It's like, all right. It's like, no, look, let's back it up and watch it. And usually, you know, she's right. Like, 98% of the time, she's right. Which is a difficult pill for me to swallow. But anyway, I digress. So this person's like, I'm a new fan, and you guys spoiled the ending for me. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And they're like, no, it's okay. I actually kind of knew. Because they see, like, all the memes and everything people post now.
Yeah.
And I guess they saw, like, number 678 was the number of the meme, and, like, Xena's head getting chopped off at the end.
Spoiler!
Spoiler alert. So I was like, so, you know, you guys, there's gonna be spoilers in this.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry.
I mean, we've said it right from the beginning. There will be spoilers.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, I mean.
We're picking it apart, you know.
So. Sorry for all you newbies. But
that's like why we recommended, like, from the beginning, hey, we're going to be rewatching the episodes and podcasting. You guys rewatch with us.
Right.
You know, you guys watch the episode, then listen to the deal, or listen to the deal and then watch the episode, you know. Either way.
Yeah.
It's so, yeah, I was going to share that with, and I had a reason for sharing the spoiler thing. I'd said all that to say something about the spoiler.
And now you don't know what you're going to say.
And now I can't remember what I was going to say. Huh. It just left. Oh, well. I'll think of it, and then I'll just, like, blurt it out in the middle of nowhere.
You do that.
So, anyway. Okay. Let's get to it, shall we?
Alrighty. So starts off with Xena and Gabrielle. And Gabrielle.
No!
And Gabrielle, yes. And Gabrielle is just going on and on and on about how Meleager is such a wonderful person.
We got our first little bit of subtext in the very first clip.
Okay, take it away.
Which, this episode's very subtext light.
Yeah.
There's like one, maybe two examples. I'll like know when we get there. But, you know. The first one, she's all, because Gabrielle's having the conversation with Xena about Meleager. Mm-hmm. Well, she's barding. You know, she's telling stories.
Yeah.
About all this amazing stuff Meleager the Mighty did. Mm-hmm. And she's all, did I mention the part where Meleager, and then Xena takes off single-handedly, hauls a war wagon of Spartan javelins, 20 leads, yeah. And she tells Gabrielle, you know, the way you build him up, his head must be in the clouds. And then Gabrielle's thought is, you know, her first thought is, it doesn't bother you, does it? And then, because, like, she's worried that Xena's getting jealous over, like, her talking about a dude so much. Mm-hmm. And Xena's like, oh, it doesn't bother me. And then Gabrielle makes the comment, you know, you should hear me when I tell stories about you, then I really get going.
Yeah.
Because it's the way she says she really gets going. That has been pointed to in this episode as subtext. Whether I agree or disagree with it, I don't know. Because I didn't notice, like, a difference really in inflection that everybody else was pointing out. But I am quite a bit daft when it comes to subtext. Like, super subtext. Super daft about subtext. We were watching Penny Kavanaugh's mom is doing like a master mind switching class thing, and she had previously done one before the Xenite retreat.
Penny Kavanaugh's the one that runs the Xenite retreat.
Yeah, Penny Kavanaugh runs the Xenite retreat. So her mom did this before the Xenite retreat started. She did what they have what they call a virtual Xenite retreat for like people that can't make it out and go to the actual retreat. They do these little events and everything. And of course it's open to people that are attending the retreat as well. But her mom is like, I don't know what you would call it, like almost like a life coach. You know, like she does NLP and all this other stuff. So I think that's right. I think that's the right. All those letters get me confused.
I don't know.
So
I don't even know what that stands for, so.
She, anyway, she just does all this deal with, like, unlocking your unconscious mind. Mm-hmm. Because your conscious mind is the one that is your stumbling block. Your conscious mind knows that, yeah, you can do this stuff. Yeah, you're, like, you've taken note of this stuff. You've taken all of this in. But your conscious mind's always your stumbling block. Because it's the one that's constantly telling you, oh, you can't do it, you can't do it, you can't do it. Well, she was talking about, upon the rewatch, she was talking of the deal that she did. She did a master mind switching class using, like, Xena metaphors.
Yeah.
So, that's the word I was looking for, was metaphors. But she was talking, like, in terms of... She was talking in terms of, like, subtext. Mm-hmm. And I bet a chunk of you guys that didn't see the subtext between Xena and Gabrielle are without a doubt, you know, heterosexual. It was something you weren't looking for because this is what's been accepted your entire life as the norm. So you don't look for it. You don't peel back those layers until, like, you start really taking it apart. And then I kind of just sat back and went, huh! You know, because I looked at Lily and I'm like, that's totally me. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, like, Lillian and I, we're a thing. She's the wifey. But, like, before her, that was, you know, that was never a thing for me to, like, be with a female.
Me neither.
So, like, I guess, yeah, in my noggin, sometimes I still go very much into like, hetero mode, you know?
Yes.
Because I wasn't looking at all. And, like you guys have heard me say it several times, up until the episode Friend in Need, like, the second one, post Xena's death, you know, I had no effing clue. I just kind of was like, oh, that's what they're doing. Wait, what? When did that happen? And Lillian is like, all throughout the show. She and Kayla, our daughter, both, all through the show. So, when I do my research and everything and people point stuff out, I really try to be open-minded with it. But, like, for this instance, I totally didn't get the inflection that everybody was pointing out. Did you? Was that, like, something you picked up on?
I don't know. I'd have to go back and watch that because, I mean, I miss stuff too.
Because somebody was all like, oh, her eyebrow wiggle and,
her
like...
Her eyebrow wiggled? We should go back and see if there's a wiggle of the eyebrow.
Okay, honey. She's like... They're all like, oh, her eyebrow wiggle, and the way she said, you know, you really get me going. Or, like, her whole inflection was just, like, sultry, and I'm like, really? Because I didn't feel sultered by Gabrielle. I just didn't. But anyway.
She wasn't trying to sulter you.
I know. What's up with that? I'm sulterable. Anyway. So, out of subtext mode now.
Okay.
Gabrielle's told Xena that she got a message from the Meleager, and all it said was, come quick.
Come quick.
And then we see all of these villagers going by.
Mm-hmm. They're all... what was it? One says, sorry, you can't talk, gotta get to court.
Yep.
So, there must be a court proceeding going on?
No.
Yes.
Okay. You say so.
And then Xena suggests going to look for Meleager in the tavern. Mm-hmm. Gabrielle's just like, tavern? That's the last place he would be.
Right. Because, well, Gabrielle's then told Xena, you know, that he had a drinking problem, and Xena said, yeah, but he conquered it in time to save your village.
Right.
And Gabrielle's like, he did. Think about how much strength that took. Mm-hmm. And Xena's all, well, it's a hard habit to break.
Yep. And then there's a group of men that are coming out of the tavern, and then Gabrielle mentions something about Meleager, which gets the attention of one of the villagers. Doesn't look too happy about it. And he asks, are you Meleager's friends? And Gabrielle's like, well, he must be your friend too. And then all hell breaks loose. Mm-hmm. She's just like, wait, I said we're friends of Meleager.
Xena's like, I think they got that part.
Yeah, so we see that, you know, something's going on. The villagers are not very pleased with Meleager. Mm-hmm. Obviously, they are not friends.
Right.
So, and,
tells them if they're there for Meleager that they're too late.
They're too late, right.
And Gabrielle's like, late for what?
And then we have them coming into the courtroom.
And Meleager's all, like, shackled.
Right.
And Xena says, why do I get the feeling that's Meleager?
Mm-hmm. And of course Gabrielle, be like, wait a minute, some kind of mistake here. He's innocent.
And then we meet Judge Arbus.
Mm-hmm.
Who strikes you from the beginning as oily.
Yeah.
Like, something's just
Sketchy.
not right. Yeah.
Sketchy.
And Xena, though, has heard tales about Judge Arbus that he's a just man.
Right.
So he doesn't take his decisions lightly.
No.
Well, we find out later on that that's not entirely the case.
Right.
So Arbus tells Gabrielle, who are you? Or he asks her, who she is, and
right.
Gabrielle said, well, I'm a friend. Whatever he didn't, I'm sure he didn't do it.
Yeah.
And then she goes on about
heroes. Oh, he's a hero. Yeah.
And about, like, battles that he's fought.
Yeah, so he's a hero and a legend and...
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Meleager's, like, correcting her stories.
Right.
Yeah.
Actually. Yeah.
And, but she's trying to make a point that all he's done has been, like, kill bad guys.
Right.
Not, like, kill good guys. And Arbus is like, it's moving, but justice can't be swayed. He killed somebody in cold-blooded murder.
Right. I mean, they've already had the trial and everything, and it's pretty much sentencing time, and...
It's like he's going to be executed in one turn of the sand glass.
Right. Right.
And this is actually what they call in scripting when they're doing a script. It doesn't happen very often in Xena. That's why I wanted to point it out here.
Okay.
There's a spot when you break down a script. Your script can be divvied up into like 12 different sections. This one is a piece of the script called All Hope is Lost.
Okay.
That's like what this is classed as.
Oh, yeah?
It usually doesn't happen this early in an episode. Mm-hmm. Usually, it's like, this is your problem. However, this early, this is your problem. This is where your statement becomes clear on what's going to happen in this episode. Like, whatever problem they're solving. So in this case, their problem to handle and their all hope is lost segment is in the exact same thing. Which almost never happens. And it definitely never happens anymore. But in Xena, it did. I thought it was kind of cool that it happened so early.
Okay.
Anyway, I was just pointing that out. Just my 2 cents.
Okay. Alrighty.
For what it's worth. Why do they say that? My 2 cents for what it's worth. If it's your 2 cents, it's worth 2 cents. Like, why? I don't understand.
I don't know. Never thought about that, so I don't know. So Meleager is in a jail cell, watching through the bars as, the villagers, make sure the noose is tight and make sure everything is ready. He's just watching through the bars. Like, oh, shit.
Fake bars.
Yeah. And then Gabrielle is just insistent on, he didn't do this.
Mm-hmm. She's seen, this whole episode, Gabrielle really bothers me. Because, I know her heart's in a good place.
Yeah.
But she sees it so one-sided that it's like, you really haven't seen enough of the world to make that decision. Because she's not interested in getting the facts unless the facts prove that Meleager's innocent. Mm-hmm. She's so single-minded, and that really irritates me about her in this episode.
Yeah. Yeah. She just cannot accept the fact that, hey, maybe he did do this.
Yeah.
She's just insistent on, he did not do it.
Right.
He is innocent. He is a good person. I mean, even a good person can do something bad.
Unless they're me. I'm pretty damn perfect.
Yes, you are.
That's what I have to tell myself to get me to sleep at night. So,
I mean, she's like, talking with Meleager, and Xena's just like, just standing there listening. I mean, again, Gabrielle, the trial was fixed, is what she said. Right?
mm-hmm.
You heard him. He's innocent.
And Meleager says, your friend doesn't know me at all. And Xena tells him, but I know Gabrielle.
Yeah.
And judges make mistakes, so tell us what happened and who got killed.
Yeah.
Meleager goes on to tell a story. It's a guy he'd never heard of before.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't even there at the time. Passed through, and he was arrested.
Right.
And then Gabrielle tells him, Arbus sounds like hang him first, ask later.
Right.
And then Xena goes on, to say, well, not from what I've heard.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes on to talk about how the trial of Volker the Vicious. And people wanted to tear him apart, but Arbus wanted a fair trial.
Right.
Lawful evidence. And he doesn't rush to judgment, is what Xena says. Well, I mean, then we'll find out later that the whole trial surrounding Volker the Vicious was staged.
Yeah.
Pretty much. I mean, because Arbus was there under the guise of, hey, no, let's not rush into it. He already had known what he was going to do, but he had to make it look good for the spectators,
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like politicians. They already completely know what they're going to do, but they've got to make it look good to everybody else.
Yeah. Xena says she's going to go talk to Arbus.
And then there's small talk between, Gabrielle and Meleager, what have you been doing? And Meleager's all saving villages.
This and that. Getting convicted of murder.
Mm-hmm. And then we've got a little, what do you call them? Like a merchant.
Uh-huh.
Like a little traveling merchant. They're called something. I can't remember what they're called. But...
Hawker?
Yeah. That's it.
Trying to hawk his goods?
Trying to hawk his goods. Because he's got, this replica of the sword that was never found.
Right.
Which was the murder weapon, supposedly, that Meleager used.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's a perfect souvenir.
Yeah. He's trying to sell it to Xena.
And in this episode, I want to point out, how much executions, back in the day,
Yeah.
they were like a sporting event. It was like going and watching a baseball game.
Uh-huh.
Everybody in the town wanted to go to the execution, and some towns actually required by law that everybody be in attendance.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the same way in the United States up until the 1940s or 50s. The chicken coop murder guy was the last person that...
Chicken coop.
Yeah, chicken coop murder. There was, in California, there was a whole movie. Angelina Jolie did a movie about it. Changeling. I hate that movie.
Oh, I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, God, I hate that movie. It, made me sick to my stomach. I had to watch it with a little trash can next to me because I kept, puking. It was so bad.
Oh, wow.
But there was, there was a serial killer a long time ago. He would go and, kidnap young boys. Mm-hmm. And he'd lock all of them in the chicken coop. And then he'd take them out, one by one, murder them. I mean, they were buried all across his property. His cousin that lived with him, that helped him kidnap the kids, eventually came forward and turned it in. But he was the last person publicly executed in the United States. Now, when you have, lethal injections and stuff like that, you still have, people that can go, but it's a pretty selective group of people. Right. It's usually people that have been involved with the trial.
Yeah.
You can't just go just to go.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was the last one. Gordon Northcott was his name. And 1928 was the last public one in the United States. Anyway. I can't speak for other countries, but I know in the United States that was it.
Yeah. So then you have everybody, like, gathering around.
If they had popcorn back then, they'd probably be...
That elderly woman, man, she wanted her front row seat. She, like, shoved everybody over. Move over.
We got a little goof with the lady.
Yeah.
She's knitting.
Uh-huh.
If you look at her knitting needles, they're modern day knitting needles. They're not like the big wood ancient ones that you see in the other Xena episodes.
Yeah.
They haven't been invented yet. So, just keep an eyeball out for that.
But she's all like, I am not missing this. It's a lovely day for an execution.
And the guy she knocks off the bench, I was like, you wanted a front row seat, you should have gotten here earlier. And she said, the execution of Meleager's for everyone, not just you early birds.
Right, I come when I want. Now hush, I've got knitting to do. That's funny.
I felt the same way with like the Legend of Zelda Symphony we went to.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, awesome seating shouldn't just be for early birds.
Right?
It should be for everybody. Let's go knock some people out of the way. So then we've got Arbus that comes in because he's hearing this whole...
the commotion going on.
And he's like, somebody's about to die. Mm-hmm. And we're not going to have it cheapened by the behavior.
Right, it's not a public spectacle.
But it is.
But he says it's not a public... he says this is an execution, not a public spectacle. But he does say, any more of that kind of behavior where, the villagers are arguing back and forth, that he would just do the execution behind locked doors, right? Yeah. And then everybody, shuts up.
Yeah. Because they wouldn't be able to see.
Right.
And Xena tells him, some people have pretty sick ideas of entertainment. Well, that's still true today.
It is.
Like, so much so.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yep.
And Arbus is like, can't be helped. Mm-hmm. And then Xena's trying to pump Arbus for information.
Info. Right.
It's like, missed the trial, but I know Meleager's reputation. Mistakes get made.
Yeah. I mean, and he says, well, I know your reputation too. And, obviously he knows that that's Xena. Mm-hmm.
And Xena's like, well, I guess formal introductions are out.
Right.
Arbus says, I've heard you changed your ways, looking to make amends with your past.
Yeah.
And, I can still call you to judgment for past crimes.
Right.
Just to, kind of put her in her place.
Yeah.
Which is where he rubbed me wrong to begin with.
Yeah. It was pretty much, you're doing all this good right now, but, I could still bring you to trial for stuff that you did in your past.
Yeah. No, he couldn't. From a lawful point of view, he wouldn't have been able to do that because she was a warlord. Mm-hmm. She wasn't an individual going out and doing it. I mean, he would have to take down every single army in Greece and Rome to be able to make that justified. Yeah. So he's bullshitting Xena right there.
And then he goes on to say how the evidence, the eyewitness evidence was compelling. So Lucy, I was about to say so Lucy was. So Xena, is like, well, someone saw him do it. And then guess who saw him do it? Not really do it.
The knitting woman.
The little knitting lady. Yeah. I mean, she didn't actually see him do it. She just saw him, like, the guy that got killed, coming out of the stable. Was it a horse stable? And
no, she saw him go into the stable.
No,
because Meleager came out of the stable.
Yeah, but first the other, I guess, warlord, or the other, the one that got killed.
Calaman.
Was that his name?
Calaman was his name.
So he comes out, drops to the floor, dead, and then all she sees is Meleager stumbling out with a bloody sword. Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously, if you see that, you think, oh, shit, he just killed him.
I wouldn't have.
But you don't know.
But I wouldn't have automatically jumped to that conclusion.
But she did.
But I also have legal training.
Yeah.
Because I was an officer for
Well, I
a
mean-
long time.
I mean-
That's one of the first things you learn is, things may not always be exactly as they appear.
As they appear. But to a common
To a
villager,
yeah.
that's what they see. That's what they, assume.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of being like, okay, so let's step back and, see what happened here.
I mean,
But-
they didn't have profilers back then.
No.
If they had had profilers back then, they would have been able to see that, in terms of Meleager's actions and the fact that he didn't put up a fight, they would have, 2 and 2, had it been added together to make 4, the whole thing would have been avoided.
Right.
But they just wanted a bloodbath. That's what they wanted,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
Anyway, Arbus, after he's told this lady, told the truth, be proud,
Right.
go on.
Yeah.
Arbus says, the truth can be a heavy burden, and Xena's like, yeah, it can.
Yep.
And then we've got Gabrielle coming back in.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, I know what we gotta do. And she said Meleager was camping with a guy when the murder happened. He was a hermit, and he's got one eye.
Meleager's eyewitness is a Cyclops?
No, he's not a Cyclops. He's a one-eyed man. But anyway, Xena has caught on that, hey, it's not right. So she tells
Right.
Gabrielle, sounds like a wild goose chase.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be thinking about spending the time with Meleager right now. And Gabrielle's like, you think he's guilty? And she gets angry.
Mm-hmm. She does.
Because Xena tells her, I don't think he's being entirely honest
Right.
with you.
Yeah.
And so Gabrielle gets cranky and takes off.
She takes off.
And Xena's calling after, because this is the first episode that we see Gabrielle, aside from when she's perpetuated by grief.
Mm-hmm.
The whole Perdiccas deal. This is the first time we see Gabrielle legitimately stand up to Xena.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't agree with what Xena's doing.
Mm-hmm.
Or the path that she's choosing to take at this point. But it's the first time she ever really gives her any pushback.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, she gives her pushback.
Yeah, she does. She does. So now we have her coming into
Gabrielle.
the prison. Yeah, Gabrielle coming into the prison with this cart. The guards think, oh, you got your friend Xena under there, so they all whip out their swords, and no, apparently it's supposed to be Meleager's last meal. But the guards gotta taste test everything first. Meleager's just right there. My food. They're eating my food.
Yep. And then he catches on the fact that Gabrielle's brought wine.
Mm-hmm.
And she brought wine because she knew he wouldn't touch it.
Right. Right. And then, what was it that she said after all the guards have, passed out? Something like the mix of whatever they were eating.
Right. With, calf kebab and chicken shawarma. And then you add wine.
Add wine, puts them right out.
So.
They all go night-night.
And then Gabrielle's reiterating, you gotta find the one-eyed man and clear yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And then
he tells her, you better get out of here, because once they wake up, they're not going to be happy.
Yeah. I mean, and Meleager truly does care for Gabrielle.
Yeah.
They're really buds,
Yeah.
And,
he leaves. He grabs one of the guards' swords.
hijacks her.
So after he leaves, Gabrielle gets caught by one of the guards.
Yeah.
And so, because she just helped him escape. So, and then we're outside.
Yeah.
Villagers are what are they doing? Tossing her back and forth.
Yeah.
I guess. you would say.
So Xena, of course, kicks into Xena mode.
Right.
She goes into overdrive because Gabrielle.
Yeah. Whistles for Argo.
Mm-hmm.
And Argo always knows exactly what to do.
Because each whistle means something different.
Yeah. So Xena's standing on... What is she standing on?
It looks
a
like
board?
a bench.
A tail bench?
Yeah, it looks like a bench, and Argo, like, brings her hooves down on one side and launches Xena into the air.
Right into the middle of the crowd of villagers.
And then she goes into defending Gabrielle mode.
Right.
You'll let her go.
Right.
And then in pops Arbus.
Yeah.
Not going to be a lynching. And then Gabrielle still being dumb as dirt, Gabrielle. I am sorry.
He's innocent. He's going to find someone who'll prove it.
I am sorry for you Gabrielle fans out there, but she is dumb as mud in this episode. She is. She's not Joxer stupid. Not you, Joxer. The cat decided to join the podcast, so he's laying across Liliana right now. So Gabrielle, he's innocent. He's gonna find somebody that'll prove he's innocent. And then Arbus is starting to get cranky. He's like, he had every chance to prove it.
Right.
I'm gonna hold you responsible for his escape. Mm-hmm. And then Xena, again, in an effort to rescue Gabrielle,
right,
I'll go find him and bring him back.
But she's going, but
Gabrielle's
going with her.
Well, because she doesn't know if Gabrielle will be alive or dead when she gets back.
Right.
Because she doesn't trust these people.
No.
And she definitely doesn't trust anybody with Gabrielle, anyway.
Yeah.
Except, ironically, the Horde in the Abyss episode. But that's neither here nor there.
So, Xena kind of like shoves Gabrielle, let's go. And,
Go!
I mean, the villagers are not too happy about that. But, but Arbus, allowed her, okay, you go bring her back, or bring him back, and, yeah.
Or, I'll send men out to find you, if you haven't come back.
Right.
So,
and then, more like at this, like...
Clearing. Well, it's a
wooded area.
clearing.
Yeah.
They stop off in the clearing.
Okay.
And then Meleager's on the horse, because right when they come into the trees, Meleager dismounts and runs from Xena.
And then Xena, obviously they notice him, and she's like, well, he's headed north.
He's headed towards Gaul.
Towards the Gauls, because they won't care what his crimes are. And Gabrielle's just like, you gotta give him a chance, And
she's like, I am begging you.
Yeah.
And Xena's like, don't make this harder.
Yeah, because she doesn't want to bring him in, but she's got no choice. She's got to.
And then this is where we've got the whole Gabrielle pushing Xena back thing. And Xena doesn't like it.
Oh, no.
She doesn't like... Liliana pointed out while we were watching it, she's like, Xena has her, "Are you suicidal?" look on her face.
That's when she, pulls up her staff, no. Like she's got her, "Are you suicidal?" face.
Yep. But she said, we gotta get Meleager back. His running's not gonna help his case.
Right.
And Gabrielle says, well, neither will his hanging.
Yeah.
And then, Xena and Gabrielle get behind Meleager. Gabrielle yells at him,
"Run, Meleager! Hurry! Into the woods!"
Into the woods. It's time to go.
Into the woods.
So.
Oh, jeez.
Xena rides after him because he's gotten down on foot now.
Yeah.
And is running. So, Xena's all riding. She stops. Yeah. She and Gabrielle get off the horse.
Right. And this is where Gabrielle pulls her staff on her.
Right.
Like, no, you're going to have to go through me to get to him. And then that's where she gets that look.
And then Xena's like, don't do this. It's like, child, please. And then Gabrielle's like, walk away. Never came to this part of the country.
Yeah.
And Xena's like, if he is guilty.
Right.
I let him escape justice. And then Gabrielle's,
he's not guilty. I mean, she's very
adamant
that he is not guilty.
Yeah. And then Xena doesn't see things that way. because she's picked up on, like, all the little white lies Meleager's told Gabrielle.
Uh-huh.
And she knows something doesn't add up.
Right.
But she can't put her finger on what it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So she flips past Gabrielle.
Right.
And then Gabrielle's trying her best to protect Meleager. I mean, her heart was in the right spot.
Yeah.
She honestly thought she was doing the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
But, my personal opinion, she should have had enough trust in Xena to know that Xena would not have turned him over to somebody without thinking something was going on. Or at least with some sort of plan to make everything all okay.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because, like, that's with all you subtexters out there, you know, if you trust your partner, you know, that's like your biggest thing in a relationship. And that's a romantic relationship or a friendship relationship. Your first biggest element is trust. If there's no trust, you ain't got bupkis. So, that's one thing that, like, irritated me with Gabrielle in this episode.
Yeah.
That, you know, she shows little to no trust for Xena. And that Xena's going to make everything okay.
Right.
You know, because, I mean, if can't trust them follow their instincts, then, you know, what can you trust them? I mean, if Xena's her best friend, you know, it's like, hey, you know, you follow them to the ends of the world. You may not always agree with them, or agree with what they do, but you always trust that, hey, this person's doing this within my best interest and everybody else's best interest. You know, because Xena wouldn't have done anything to hurt Gabrielle.
No.
Except for, like, you know. Well, there were a couple episodes. We won't go there right now. That was during the Rift arc. And you guys can have my opinion on that later. But anyway.
So Xena catches up to Meleager.
And Meleager's like, you know, I can't let you stop me.
Alright.
So he hits her in the face.
Yep. It's like it didn't even faze her. She's just like...
She pops her neck and she's
her
like,
neck. Okay.
I can't let you get away. And then she
Pow.
punches him. And he does go somewhere.
He does.
And then Gabrielle's still...
Yeah.
Xena!
Oh, jeez.
She's trying her best to keep, like, Xena from taking him down. So Xena and Meleager fight.
Yeah.
And then Meleager says, you know, can't stack youth and ambition against age and experience. And Xena says, oh, I've got experience, too. You know, I don't think Meleager, like, knew all of Xena's... Her
abilities?
Yeah. Her history. Like, I truly don't think he had a grasp on everything Xena had done.
Her mini skills?
Yeah. Well, not even that. Just, like...
Yeah.
Everything she'd done, everybody that she had conquered before she got on, like, the path to redemption.
Yeah.
You know? I don't think he had a clue.
Yeah. So, he's, you know, pretty much, you know, I'm not going back. And then
She tells
Xena...
him, you know, well, Gabrielle will pay your price.
Yeah, and then I guess that's what snapped in his head, like, you know, well, I can't let that happen.
Yeah. And Gabrielle knows that that's what Xena's used, also.
Yeah.
Because she said, you know, if I have to go in your place, I will. And he's like, you know, stop it.
Yeah.
And then he tells her, you know, there wasn't really a one-eyed man.
No.
I ran because I'm guilty.
And then he goes on to say that, you know, he was drinking that night. Which Gabrielle was just like,
Yeah.
You were drunk?
But see, he tells her, you know, I didn't want to tell you that I'd slipped up.
Right.
So, you know.
But see, he doesn't even remember what happened because he was drunk. So everything was just a blur to him. So honestly, he doesn't, he thinks he killed the guy, but he doesn't know for sure if he did. So.
And the trial clearly didn't work out in his favor.
No, it did not. It did not. And then he goes on to tell, you know, what he remembered, I guess. You know, that he was sleeping, you know, because he was passed out from being drunk.
Right.
And then that Calaman, Kellerman, came into the stables and stumbled off his horse.
Right.
And he's all like, he came at me, and then, yeah, the two, like, struggled, and all Meleager knows is that he was holding a bloody sword.
Yeah. Well, they struggled because, I mean, Meleager thought that he'd just, like, come in on him to rob him.
To rob him, or... Yeah.
And, I mean, anything when you're drunk.
Well, Meleager thought that the other guy thought he was trying to rob him.
Mm-hmm.
So.
That's what I said, honey.
No, I thought you said that the guy that got killed was gonna try and rob Meleager. Okay, but anyways. So yeah, I mean, all he remembers was holding a bloody sword and, you know, fleeing the scene of the crime.
Right.
And then he did say after he saw the little old lady outside of the stables, you know, he just ran, and he held on to the sword. So they make camp, you know. They'll leave in the morning, I guess. Head back to the village.
And Gabrielle's giving Meleager the cold shoulder.
Yeah.
At this point.
Because he lied to her.
Right.
So now she probably feels, hey, can't trust him now.
Right. And he and Xena have a little heart-to-heart, you know.
Yeah.
You know? Well, you tell her I'm sorry. He's all, oh, tell her yourself. He's like, she never wants to hear from me again. Can't blame her. I screwed up when I lied to her. And Xena's like, well, which lie?
Right? The one about the drinking or the one about the killing? He's all like, yeah, I deserve that.
Yeah. And then he says, you know, I betrayed her faith and turned her against you.
Yeah.
And I mean, he did. In this episode, he without a doubt turned her against Xena.
Yeah. And then Xena, curious, you know, about how the villagers caught him.
Yeah. It's like, you know, were you drunk when they caught you? And said, well, I haven't touched a drop since
that night.
Yeah. And he tells Xena, you know, they were only doing what they thought was right. Mm-hmm. And then Gabrielle is brushing Argo, trying to refocus her energy.
She's trying to keep busy.
Yeah. And then Xena calls her out, you know, you're just trying to keep away from Meleager. It's like, he needs a friend. And Gabrielle said, well, friends don't lie. Mm-hmm. Now, this is going to be a pretty important part of the Xenaverse. This little quote from Miss Gabrielle right here.
Uh-huh.
Says, friends don't lie. Nearly all of season 3 was built on a lie.
Yes, they lied.
But she thought she could protect her from the truth. But they both lied.
They did.
I mean,
they did.
So you have to look like season 3 when you've got the episode Gabrielle's Hope. Mm-hmm. You know, Gabrielle's a little bit hypocritical.
Right.
You know, because friends don't lie. Mm-hmm. Had no problem lying to Xena.
Right.
Well, she did. I mean, she was she did feel guilty over it.
Yeah.
But she also thought she was in the right.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah.
But then Xena, you know, lied to Gabrielle also after the whole chin thing.
She did it to protect her.
She did it to protect Gabrielle. Mm-hmm. And, you know, Gabrielle didn't want that type of protection. You know, she just wanted Xena not to kill.
Right.
Well, Xena killed, and then you got this whole giant rift that starts, that leads up to Bittersweet.
Right.
You know, but it's not there right now, but I thought it was... That caught me, like, in this episode, the whole friends don't lie coming from Gabrielle. It's like, dude, really?
Really?
It's like, you did?
Right?
What are you trying to say about yourself? Which, that's also something that somebody pointed out on a subtext forum. Oh, friends don't lie. But, you know, spouses lie to each other all the time. It's like, really? That's not like our relationship at all.
Nope.
So, yeah. And they're like, oh, that's what points to Xena and Gabrielle being more than friends, is friends don't lie. They've lied to each other. It's like, how does that? I don't see it, and that those are things that, like, I don't understand and I don't grasp at all.
Right.
So.
Yeah. But anyway.
Gabrielle then, says, I'm sorry, for not believing you.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, well, you and I have got plenty of time to talk about it. That's what Xena tells her.
Yeah. But Meleager doesn't have much time.
Yeah.
So.
And Xena calls her out, are you more angry at him or are you more angry at you?
Mm-hmm.
And then Lucy Lawless's accent drops. Just a hint.
Does it?
Because she, on the line, you put people up on a pedestal.
Uh-huh.
She says, on a pedestal. We put them up on a pedestal. And, yeah. Oh. Did you not hear that?
No.
In the thing? We'll go back and I'll replay it for you. But
okay.
Yeah. Pedestal. It's like, sooner or later, they'll fall.
Mm-hmm.
And your expectations will fall with them.
Right.
Which is, again, a precursor to everything that happens in season 3. Because Gabrielle has Xena up on this big pedestal.
Right.
And Xena falls off the pedestal. Kaboom. Kaboom. And Gabrielle's like, I put people on a pedestal?
Mm-hmm.
And, Xena's like, yeah, you do. He's made his mistakes, drunk and sober. Tomorrow he's going to have to pay for one. You can talk to him. But if you don't talk to him, you'll regret it.
You'll regret it, yeah.
And then she tells Gabrielle, and you don't deserve that guilt.
Right.
Because regardless of whatever Gabrielle's done, Xena still doesn't want her to suffer in any manner,
So then, it's the next morning.
Mm-hmm. Gabrielle and Meleager are all buddies again.
Right. And then, Xena, asks him about, about what happened again.
Yeah, to Kelman.
Yeah.
And she's like, did he look all right? And Meleager said, well, he stumbled a little bit.
Yeah.
But if you're asking if he fell on his own sword, I wish I could say yes.
Right.
And Gabrielle's like, but she didn't see you kill Kelman.
Right. And he's like, well, the bloody sword was in my hand, so I would say that was the tip-off.
Yeah.
Because that's what she saw, was him with the bloody sword.
Yeah. And Xena's like, well, somebody told me it was never found. What happened? Mm-hmm. And Meleager's like, well, it's probably still in the cave where I left it, because that's where I woke up.
Yeah, he woke up the next morning, and there it was. And he left it in the same cave.
And he's describing it, it was a skull-encrusted monstrosity.
And then Xena just, stops and gets this look on her face.
And she's like, he was a big man, burly, but ugly in good light.
Yeah.
Meleager's like, you knew him? And then arrows come flying.
She starts catching arrows with her hands and her teeth.
The teeth is, the coolest.
Right?
It really is. So...
Yeah.
And Xena, she doesn't give a crap about Meleager. She's just, Gabrielle, get down!
Yeah.
So Gabrielle drops, and then Meleager drops.
Mm-hmm.
And, then we got a fight with the little lanky dude.
What was it?
Solus.
Solus?
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
And he's cranky, and she, strings him up from a tree.
Right.
And she doesn't hang him. She just, gets him under the arms.
Right.
And then he's like, I'm supposed to bring Meleager in, and Gabrielle says dead or alive.
Mm-hmm. More dead than alive, apparently.
Yeah. And he's like, an execution's an execution.
Right. Pretty much no matter where it takes place. Yeah.
So, Xena tells him, you tell Arbus I said I would bring Meleager in.
Right.
And they take off. And just leave the dude hanging out.
But not before, Meleager kind of makes him spin around.
Excuse me. Uh-oh.
Okay.
So, Xena tells Meleager, I'm not taking you back yet. And Gabrielle's like, where are we going to go?
Because she wants to see the sword.
She wants to see the sword in the cave.
So they get to the cave, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's like, there it is.
Xena picks up the sword, and Gabrielle's telling her, if you take it back, it's just more evidence against him. And Xena's like, well, now I know he's innocent.
Right?
You didn't kill the man, I did.
Dun dun dun.
And then she goes into flashback mode.
Uh-huh.
And she tells Gabrielle, this happened. The whole the whole murder happened during the events of Athens City Academy of the Performing Bards.
Right.
Because Gabrielle was studying at the academy, Xena was on her own.
Right.
So this is one of the only episodes that, just a little fun fact, this is one of the only episodes where Xena and Gabrielle are not together, but we actually see what's happening for the one that wasn't featured in the episode.
Right. Right.
In real life,
Yeah.
in Athens City Academy for the Performing Bards, Lucy Lawless was laying on a beach on vacation. And Renee O'Connor was holding up the episode.
Right.
But in Xena world,
Xena
was killing a dude.
Right.
And she says, in a nutshell, we fought because he was attacking a noble guy, and he took his own sword in the chest. Mm-hmm. Which apparently didn't kill him right off.
No.
Because he left.
Yep.
So, he got back on his horse. Horse headed to the stable on instinct, because horses will return to what they know.
Right.
They're like dogs and cats. They'll go back to the pathways they know.
Mm-hmm. So.
And she said,
So he was already dying.
Right.
But obviously.
And Xena didn't think anything about it till she talked to the witness lady, which is actually based on a real on a real person. The lady that sits at the execution and knits is featured in Charles Dickens' A Tale of Two Cities.
Okay.
So this is like a cameo appearance for the Xenite. This episode's actually a play off of Tale of Two Cities. So we've got two Dickens classics. We got A Solstice Carol, and we got Tale of Two Cities. All in the same season. Fun fact for you Xenites.
Okay.
Did you know that?
No, I did not.
Oh.
I did not.
But she tells them, when she was talking with the witness lady and Arbus, she noticed dried blood on the saddle, but she didn't think anything about it.
Mm-hmm. She noticed that when she went in to the stable to check on Argo?
Mm-hmm.
I guess, yeah. So, yeah. So, I mean, he's like, relieved. He's like, I wasn't lying.
Yeah.
At least I didn't know I wasn't lying. So, he's happy that he is innocent.
He's innocent because Xena's guilty.
Yes.
And then Gabrielle's like, well, how are we going to prove it to Arbus?
Well, the little guy that he was trying to kill.
Yeah. Scared witness, raving about more assassins coming after him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Xena says, she told him about a hiding place she had.
Right.
And she's betting he's still there.
Right. Right. So, she heads that way.
And then we go back to the town.
Right.
And we've got Arbus.
He's a little upset because, he thought Xena was, a woman of her word.
And she is.
She is. Yeah. So he thinks that, she's siding with Meleager.
Mm-hmm. And Solus is like, I tried, but she's too Xena.
Then we have the executioner.
He's a scary looking fella.
Yeah, he is. I don't want to cross paths with him. Jeez.
So, you get a kick out of Arbus telling him to put on his comfortable clothes.
This is my comfortable clothes.
Yeah. And then he takes off and leaves.
Mm-hmm.
And then Arbus is like, we're going to find him ourselves. Justice will be carried out.
Mm-hmm.
And then they ride off.
Right.
Then we cut to the camp with Xena and the little twitchy guy.
Yeah.
He's twitchy.
He's a little jumpy there.
And in a nutshell,
he's what's the words I'm looking for here? Go ahead.
I don't know. Xena's like, hey, you remember I saved you from the assassin? He's like, well, how do I know you haven't taken the job? He's paranoid. Like, really bad.
Because he's just, like, convinced that someone's going to kill him.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, someone did.
Right.
The dead dude.
Yeah.
He was sent as an assassin to kill him.
Yeah.
Because he knows something nobody else knows.
Yep. Because in a nutshell, he tells Xena, Arbus sent an assassin to kill me. So, the judge is crooked.
Arbus is not as trustworthy as everybody thinks he is.
Yes. The judge in the town's got bloodstains on
his hands. So that's the night that the lights went out in... Where are we?
Greece.
It's the night that the lights went out in Greece. Okay.
Yeah. So...
We're not nerds at all.
No.
Anyways.
Hey, I was there the night the lights went out in Georgia.
I know.
Multiple times.
Anyways.
So, he, in a nutshell, has told Xena, you know...
He built his career on that Volker case.
That Arbus built his career on it, yeah. It's like, he executed an innocent man, and he knew it.
All for his reputation.
Yeah. So, then we cut to the cave, and Gabrielle's writing in her scrolls, probably writing out this exact event that happened.
Right.
Because, you know, Gabrielle wrote the Xena scrolls. We've talked about this already. And then he says, you know what? It's my last night, as long as it's the two of us. Write down my last will and testament.
Right.
And then she's like, you know, don't be silly. And he's like, oh, I'm not. Write it. Mm-hmm. And he bequeaths everything to Gabrielle because she's like a daughter to him.
Right.
For you folks that saw subtext between Meleager and Gabrielle.
Yeah. So, yeah.
I think they pulled that from, like, their whole stunt in The Prodigal, though. Mm-hmm. Oh, by the gods. No wonder they call you the Mighty. You remember?
Uh-huh. I think. Yeah.
Where they're acting like they're woohooing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I think that's where they started pulling the subtext from, and then they just overflowed it to the episode. I'm like, dude, do you not know a staged act when you see it?
Right. So, Arbus and Solus enter the cave.
Not Meleager out.
Meleager
take
out.
Gabrielle.
Right.
And then Xena's like, oh no, when she enters the cave.
Right.
I'm like, he's got him. So, I don't think she cares so much about rescuing Meleager, but she does care about rescuing Gabrielle.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, at this point, she knows that he's innocent,
yeah. So she would have rescued him regardless.
She's not going to let him die for something that she did.
Right.
So.
Because that would completely go against her case for redemption.
So, Gabrielle and Meleager are, you know, in the jail cell now.
The sand runs out.
Yeah.
It's time for a hanging.
Right.
So, we've got Xena bringing twitchy guy in, Elisha, yeah. This is his name.
He's not having it. He, like, falls off the horse and he's runs. No, you are not taking me back there.
Thought you were taking me to Athens.
Right.
To testify, but you're taking me back to those crazy people and ain't happening.
Yeah.
So.
He's like, Arbus owns that town. Arbus is that town. And then he just takes off.
Yeah. And then we cut back to the jail cell. And Gabrielle's trying to plead, you know, postpone the execution.
Right.
Xena's coming with proof Meleager didn't do it.
Arbus doesn't care. Yeah. You know, the people demand justice.
And
so, say your goodbyes.
Gabrielle says, you know, if it was about justice, she'd wait.
Right.
Yeah. And then he says, you know, post archers on the gate. If Xena shows up, kill her.
Yeah.
Anyway, you got Meleager telling Gabrielle that, you know, they'll both be hanged.
Right, if Xena shows up.
Yeah.
I mean, so he's pretty much, you know, it's best that she doesn't get here.
Mm-hmm. And then he tells Gabrielle not to look outside when it comes time for him to hang.
Right. So, like, but I want to. I have to. I want you to look at me.
Oh. She wants to be the last face he sees.
Right.
And, anyway, guards all, you know, don't give us any more trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And they go on. Gabrielle's all teary-eyed.
Yeah.
And she's in the cell by herself.
Alright.
And then she's looking outside. She's clutching the bars. We've got an oopsie. Because we see the executioner coming. Then we see Xena grab the executioner's cloak.
Yeah.
And then, we see Xena's arm.
Right.
Grab it.
So at this point, you're thinking, oh, she's going to knock out the executioner, the real one, and then
Take his place.
But is that really what she does?
No, it's not.
No,
she
it's not.
cloaks herself.
Yeah.
Under thrall of darkness.
Yes.
So,
Go ahead with your oopsie.
We got an oopsie when Gabrielle is hanging onto the bars when they get to the point where they're going to drop Meleager to hang.
Uh-huh.
She turns away, and if you watch the cell bars, they wiggle because they're foam. They're not real. So, whoopsie.
Oopsie.
Whoopsie. I actually forgot to point out my very first oopsie at the beginning of the episode.
What was that?
During the fight scene. The very first fight scene.
Okay.
When Dude Man swipes his sword under Gabrielle's legs.
Uh-huh.
He they come a couple of inches away from their legs to do their swishing through.
Yeah.
And you can't really pick on fight scenes because if you slow them down, nothing syncs up.
No.
But when you watch them in real speed, you look when they to slice, Gabrielle jumps way after the sword's already passed through her legs. She jumps 2.5 seconds afterwards.
Delayed reaction.
Yeah, a little bit. So, anyway. So, Xena's hidden below.
Mm-hmm.
And Meleager drops. Gabrielle thinks he's dead.
See, at this point, we don't know that
We
Xena's
don't know.
down there.
We don't know Xena's down there.
Yeah.
So, they put him in a coffin.
Yeah.
Little pine box.
Mm-hmm.
It may not be pine, considering the trees in Greece. It may be I don't know. Something cheaper they use there. I don't know. It would be a pine box in the United States because that's our cheapest wood. As pine.
Okay.
Pine and poplar.
Okay.
I learned this working in a hardware store. So anyhow, Meleager, when he's in the room alone with Arbus,
Yeah.
acts like he's rising from the dead.
Yeah. Well, Arbus is what? Filling out his, I guess, death certificate?
Yeah. Cause of death, justice.
Justice.
And Meleager's, is that what you said about Volker the Vicious?
Who's there?
Yep.
So.
And Meleager tells him, the guilty can never escape the dead.
Mm-hmm.
This won't be the end for you because you gotta confess you killed an innocent man.
And Arbus is just freaking out because he's just like, well, you're dead. You crossed to the other side. So he thinks he's being haunted now, I guess.
And then he says, I don't care how many innocent people die.
Yeah.
If I pass judgment, makes it right.
Yeah. But did you see, the villagers have come in, so they're hearing all of this.
Mm-hmm. And you got Xena that's gone in.
Uh-huh.
And Arbus turns around and says, do your job, kill him.
Because he thinks that she's the executioner because she's still got the cloak on.
She takes off the cloak. I never did the first time.
Right? He was like, I don't understand. I saw him hang.
And then it tells him, don't believe everything you see.
Mm-hmm.
And they flash back to where she's under the gate.
When Meleager drops, he, lands on Xena's shoulders. And the look that he's like
huh?
opens one eye. Oh, okay, cool. I'll play along. So, Xena's all like, well, he caught on quick.
Yeah.
So.
It's a good thing.
Yeah.
So, Meleager's like, he doesn't catch on that quick because rope burn.
Rope burn.
And then Arbus is going off, I gave all of you guys what you wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Without me, your sheep, all of you, lawlessness will reign. Anarchy. I told Lillian, I said...
And Xena?
Yes, okay. I told Lillian, I said, lawless did reign.
Right?
Not lawlessness. But anyway.
So, yeah. So, Xena takes him to the jail cell.
Mm-hmm. To pardon Gabrielle.
To pardon Gabrielle and to throw him in there.
Mm-hmm. And Xena says, Gabrielle, and Gabrielle doesn't even turn to look. She's like,
you're too late. And Meleager's like, what? What did I miss? And Gabrielle's just like, oh, you're alive.
You made me think you were dead.
Right?
Well, I was.
Yeah.
Xena was that close. And Xena's like, I'm sorry, we didn't have time to warn you.
But
Gabrielle doesn't care. She's just happy.
she's happy. She's relieved. So, Arbus gets thrown in the prison.
Mm-hmm.
Awaiting his execution.
Yes. Which isn't going to come because Meleager does away with the gallows. He's chopping the gallows down on the last shot. Mm-hmm. And then we see the little knitting lady go by, and she's got like a little effigy doll that she's knitted of Meleager with a noose around his neck.
Yeah. She's just like holding it, like waving it at him or something.
Yeah. And Gabrielle's like, when I'm that age, I hope I'm knitting socks. So,
I thought that was funny.
Xena, no, you know what's funny? Xena's line of comfort to Gabrielle. She's all like, oh, don't worry about it. People in our line of work don't make it to that age.
That's a comforting thought.
Yeah. So, and then they ride off into the sunset.
Yes.
And thus ends
the execution.
Last episode with Meleager. Disclaimer. By popular demand, the executioner will bring back his comfortable, lightweight cotton flax blend robe in a variety of spring colors. Won't he? Won't he?
Yes.
Awesome. So anything you can think of? What else do we got?
I don't know.
That's it, yeah?
I believe so.
Is it?
I don't know. Do you got anything else?
I don't know if I do or not.
In your vast array of knowledge.
I have no knowledge.
No
knowledge. I do know that one of my least favorite episodes is coming up.
The next one?
No.
The one after?
Yeah. Ulysses comes up like after Blind Faith. Blind Faith is our next episode.
Is next.
I'm also not looking forward to Ulysses.
Mm-hmm.
Which surprisingly has a lot of subtext in it for an episode that's all about Xena falling in love with somebody else. But,
Yeah.
There's more subtext in Blind Faith, though.
Okay.
So, that's where my noggin's at. Is that, no, not Ulysses. Because that episode just makes me sad. You know why? Because as much as Gabrielle ticks me off in the execution episode, because, I was just mad with her the entire episode. I feel so bad for her in the Ulysses episode just because of Renee O'Connor's, amazing facial reactions when she's hearing Xena and Ulysses talk about their feelings for each other. But anyway, we'll get to that then. Till then, we're going to meet Palamon in the episode Blind Faith. When we come back to you guys with our next one.
Right.
Yay.
Alrighty. That'll do it.
Woohoo! So, till next time, you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for hanging out with us.
Yep.
Happy chakrams. Battle on.
Mm-hmm.
Be a force for good.
Yes.
Do something nice for a random person. And
just be you.
Just be you. You are the youiest you that you can be. If you don't be you, nobody else will be. And you is pretty awesome. So, anyway, that's about it. There you go. I think that wraps us.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Alright. Till next time, guys. Happy chakrams. And Babbling Bards.
Out.